All right, you guys. So today is officially week one of Habits of Health. For those of you who didn't join last week, we are alternating weeks. So one week, which was last week, is the life book. This week it's Habits of Health. So
Mhm.
essentially, everybody gets 2 weeks to read a chapter of either the life book or the Habits of Health book. And honestly, even if you don't read the chapter, we would love to have you participate and still hear people's takeaways. So it's not like it's a prerequisite to participate that you have to have read the chapter. If you do, fantastic, because you can provide more value. But if it's a busy week and things are hectic, then still join us because we still want to see your faces. So this week, it was super easy. It was 4 pages at the very beginning, pages 16 through 20, I think it was, of the Habits of Health book, the preface. What were your guys' takeaways? Anything? I had some aha moments as I was reading it again because it had been a while. Was there anything that stood out to you guys? Remember, this is very casual, so unmute. No formal
Well,
settings.
I think it just spoke to me. It was the story of my life, and that, how many times have you gone on a plan but there's no mental aspect to it. And then you think and the weight loss is the goal in your mind rather than the healthy lifestyle that it should entail. And then you gain more weight and then you yo-yo and then you're worse. And yes, ma'am.
Yeah, like blink if we've all yo-yoed with our weight before this program.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that goes for most of us. That's true. He talks a lot about that, and that this is kind of like the program that really helps with the mindset side of things. And I do tell folks quite frequently that every program out there works, and I believe it because I've done a lot of them and I lost weight, but none of them really focus on the mindset like this
Right.
program does to allow me to maintain it. Not that I'm always perfect, but it helps me navigate those situations a little bit better. It's good. Thanks
I
for sharing.
think a lot of well, maybe not just that's for the first 4 pages, it didn't say this, but in reading a little ahead, a lot of it is similar to the therapy I've been in for a couple of years, and trying to change the message and get in a different lane. And it's just something that's valuable.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For sure. I love that. What else? What were some of the rest of your takeaways?
Some of the things that really stood out to me were like some of the statistics. And those numbers are staggering. But it offered me two pieces. Number one, I certainly don't feel alone, right? Like, okay, well, more people are like I was than aren't. And the second piece is that it just inspires me to keep sharing with other people because just when this was written, these were the statistics. And I have no doubt that, especially with COVID, that they're even higher. And like kids spending time indoors, that kind of stuff. And that's all trickled down from our habits as their parents. So some of those statistics really just inspired me, but also I felt really normal.
Yeah. Was anyone else shocked that he said on page 19 that on average, Americans spend 95% of their time indoors?
Yeah, this was written before COVID, if I'm not mistaken. So it's got to be even worse now.
Yeah, it was before COVID. It's terrifying, right?
Well,
yes.
Yeah, I think
that hit me too.
In watching my grandchildren and my nieces and how they come home from school. We used to ditch the books and go ride a bike or do roller skating or do something. And now it's go in your room and get on what do they call them, an app, or do something with somebody. Yeah. And actually an aversion to kind of going outside or actually being like stumped and not even, they don't know what to do when they get outside. It's boring. I'm just standing around. I'm just breathing air kind of thing, So anyway, yeah, I think so.
I'm curious if you guys feel like some of that has to do with like, I don't want to say like the new dangers in society, because obviously things still happened as we were growing up and we were younger. We just were naive to it and we went outside and played anyway. But do you feel like social media and just the access to that information has scared parents a little bit more to allow their kids to play outside?
I don't. I think it's easy. It's easy for parents just to let them sit in front of an electronic device. It's the easy way
And
out.
I think a lot of parents aren't home anymore after school like some of our generation were. I mean, they're either, old enough if they're pre-adolescent, adolescent to be home on their own for 2 o'clock till 5:30 or 6 when the parents get home. And so, yeah, they just hunker down and watch TV or do whatever than being outside. Yeah.
I think it could have a little bit with parents being a little nervous on letting their kids just ride their bikes wherever.
Right.
Like I would ride my bike, gosh, I don't know, probably a couple miles away from my house at 10 years old. And my mom would be like, all right, just be home by the time the lights came on. And today there's no way in the world I would let my kids outside in this world, just because it's like, I don't trust people. There's that lack of trust is there. And I think that is kind of pursuant to having so much access to the media, the social media. And you got it more at your fingertips, where I'm sure this stuff was going on back in the 80s, but it wasn't prevalent. It wasn't right in front of our faces day in and day out. And I've got an 8, 7, and 5-year-old, and my 8-year-old likes to go around the corner and go play with his friend. And I'm okay with that, but I'm like, stay out of this area and stay out of that area. And so there's trust being built, but yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking.
And I think that I've witnessed, and I don't know if people seem right now more angry and confused or resentful. In fact, I had a friend that was grocery shopping at a store, and she was bringing her groceries out, and she had her car door open, and she put her purse on the seat, which us women do. But I worked in parole, and they always tell us never, never, never put your purse on a passenger seat or your driver's seat. Put it behind the driver's seat, because a lot of grab and goes will go through an open window or open a passenger door and grab your purse and go. So she was in the process of putting her purse behind her seat to unload some groceries, and a car pulled up right next to her, and a guy jumped out that had like a black hoodie and stuff and knocked her down and grabbed her purse and took off. So, I mean, we never had to worry about that before. But so anyway, yeah, okay, that's my contribution. Scary me, I don't know.
No, I get it. Yeah, it is a little bit of different times, but I think the access to the information is just everywhere. And it does instills a little bit of fear in parents to allow their kids to go out. But the stats, you're right, Anna, they're definitely eye-opening. What were some of your other takeaways?
Hey, this
I was pretty surprised to read. I'm sorry. I was pretty
No, go ahead.
surprised to read on page 19 that a recent survey said we're the first generation that has significantly lower quality of life than every generation before us. I had to go back and read that again. That's pretty eye-opening.
Yeah, but I think that really correlates to like how much time we spend outdoors, right? Like on that same page, he says today kids spend less time outside than prison inmates. Like
that's crazy.
that's a sad statistic. And so it's like we're not active, right? Whereas generations before, they were active with everything, whether it's because they had land that they had to work and animals, or they were just more active outside of the house. I don't know.
That and the fact I read where it says there's 70% of the population is at least overweight or obese. And that's sad too.
Those numbers are increasing, but what I wanted to kind of pitch in here a little bit with those statistics and everything is this is allowing us to kind of get a big picture of where we're standing and the changes that we want to make, like how we can make a difference in going outside and being more involved with our children and being more present with doing outdoor activities and things like that, because it's just as much as our, overworked. We're tired when we get home. Maybe we have that lazy inclination of, here, I don't have time for that or whatever. But, I don't know about you guys, but when I'm outside and walking and in the outdoors, I feel alive. And how much, how can we instill that habit and love of being outside in our kids by having this knowledge now and being able to share it and pay it forward?
Mhm. That's a great point, Misty. I agree. And he touches a little bit on that too, where the bottom of the 19, where he's like, his goal is really to give us each the blueprint and take responsibility for our own change, right? Like, even for some of us coaches on here, like, we can guide clients to their goal and help them and show them the way and kind of outline the path. But ultimately, we have to want to do it for ourselves. And our goals and our whys have to be strong enough. But if we're not taking responsibility and being part of the change, then it's just going to have this same effect on our kids if we don't do something different with them, and show them that we can be outside and we can be active. And I was talking to a client earlier. In fact, Mary, I think that's you on here. Although your last name's not on here, but she was like, she got to play on the trampoline this weekend, and she hadn't done that before. And so finding these activities that can be outdoors and active, it's just fun, and you do feel alive. But we have to be the good role models for it. That's good. What are some other takeaways?
I liked where at the top of 18 in the last paragraph, it says, if you're willing to take responsibility and stay the course, we can help you predictably change your health and well-being. All I have to be is willing. It's so simple. Like, all I have to be is willing enough to follow some really, really simple direction, right? And like 2, 3, 4, later down the page where I have it highlighted, it also says that, like, we have this, it says that together they are a highly effective system to create predictable transformation in those that decide their health is important to them. That is a decision that I continue to make, like, every 3 minutes. Like, sometimes it's even like every 3 seconds. Like, sometimes it's like every freaking second, but it's a decision that now causes me, like, to, like, have an order typed in for Chick-fil-A, but rather than hitting send, go, no, girl, go back to work and go eat your freaking lean and green. Like, go. Because I continue to be willing and continue to decide that my health is important to me, because it very quickly goes away. Very quickly. I very quickly decide that, like, what I want right now is more important than what I want. I love that about this system. I love it.
Ooh, how many of you could resonate with what Kat just said? Literally, sometimes every second versus every few hours. So if anything, take away that you're not alone with that. Were you going to say something, Jessica?
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, I was trying to find it. I was like, something about 2020. I just found it was very interesting how we just went through, we're still going through it, but we're going through this COVID stuff. And we've got, he mentions in here that, now I just lost it again. But anyway, mentions in 2020 that depression will be the second leading cause of a disability throughout the world. But the first will be heart disease. I'm almost feeling like those are probably really close to neck and neck because of COVID, because we were home for so long. I mean, I know I put on some hefty pounds with my husband being a wonderful baker. And so we ate a lot of bread. But I found that it's kind of scary. Our mental ability to cope with things has been food for a lot of us, myself especially. And I see it with the teenagers. They're not able to deal with a lot of things that are going on, and they're picking up other bad habits, whether it be vaping or destroying the bathrooms. I've seen these TikTok things, eating, just different things. And it's just like, wow, and they're saying how our children, we're going to outlive them. And that makes me so afraid for my kids who are so young, because I'm just like, really? A parent should never have to bury their young, not for reasons that can be helped. So I've read this a while back, and it's just like very eye-opening to actually really absorb it this time around.
Yeah.
So.
It's a sad, sad reality. It gave me goosebumps when you were reading through that again. Because you're right. I think the stats, they probably are neck and neck right now just because of COVID and the number it did on us not being able to be social and leave our house. It's hard. Did anyone else? I starred this one because I'm guilty of it. But on page 18, he says energy saving devices have become even more absurd, and activities like shopping, learning, working, entertainment that previously required physical energy can now be accessed from the comfort of your home. I love Instacart. Like, I don't love going to the grocery store to do my grocery shopping, but I think of how many more calories I could probably burn walking in the parking lot, walking around the store and picking groceries. But are there any other things that you guys do now just via an app versus physically going and buying it or making it or doing something else?
Cindy, it's funny you
Yes.
say that because I have continued to go grocery shopping, right? That is not that I like to do it, but that was one way of me to get a way for me to get out of the house, even though I had to wear my mask through the pandemic. So, I mean, I'm stuck in my house every day, all day because I work from home, but I was not willing to give up that outing per se. So when I read that, I was really surprised because that is true. We can use our devices to order food. We can use our devices to grocery shop or even shop for anything anymore. We don't have to leave our homes to do anything. There's an app for that, right? So anyway, I just want to add that.
Yeah, and just think of what that's going to look like for the next generation, which is probably goes back to your point, Jessica, where he says we'll probably outlive this next generation because they're so used to technology and that instant gratification versus having to save for it or having to go to the store or wait till we go to the store to buy something. Now they can just go to Amazon and get it. So they're not going to have the same struggles that we had growing up.
It's kind of like that movie Wall-E, where you have all these people that are put onto this helium balloon, and then they just continue to get larger, and they just kind of go around, and everything's brought to them. That, like, oh my gosh, that movie means so much more after COVID than ever before. Like, before it was just entertainment. I was like, yeah, right. Now I'm reading this book and I'm like realizing what all we went through, and I'm going, this is really scary. This is foretelling our future if we don't change our ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what a good it's a good movie to use as like an analogy for sure. Because they literally like everything they're just sitting in their chairs as they like rotate through the different sections.
Yeah. And they have their super big gulps, and yeah, it's crazy to me.
Yeah, that's sad. What else? Anyone else have some good takeaways? I mean, it's only 4 pages, but he gave us so much great information to kind of set the precedents.
At the end, I think on page 20, he talked about gobbling up the tools and the support, like energy bars. Like, that's what this book is going to be. And it reminded me that the books are the program, that anybody can eat the food and drink the water and lose the weight. But if we don't read the books, we're just right back to that vicious cycle of yo-yo dieting again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hence the power of doing this book club together, which I love. Because food's not the issue, right? So I tell people, it's all the reasons why we go to food. That's the issue. It's our coping mechanism, because it's the most socially acceptable coping mechanism for most of us, including teens too. So I'm excited to continue to dig in. So one thing we're doing differently as we wrap up, since it's a shorter chapter, is we've decided that we will start to raffle wellness credits for participation on here because you guys are taking time out of your night and evening to join us. And we also want to make it worth your basically time. And if you have friends or family members that want to join us, like even if they're not on program, like feel free to have them participate as well. So Erica, she put together this fun wheel and she's going to spin the wheel and see, we're going to actually have 2 people per week. So $25 in wellness credits every week that we'll select. And so Erica's going to spin the wheel and see who our first wellness credit prize winner is.
Here we go.
This before. This is fun. Oh, yay! Nicole, you're number 1. That's awesome.
It is awesome. Thank you. I don't usually win anything.
All right, we ready for number 2?
Yeah, go for it. and a banana. Congrats.
I feel so lucky.
That's so fun. So we'll do that every week. Like I said, it's just a fun thank you for even participating and hanging out with us for the evening. But any other final takeaways before we wrap up tonight?
I appreciate the fact that we're doing this because I kind of got away from doing my book stuff and reading. And I think some of it was I was really uncomfortable with what I was reading and the changes that I had to address and face. And I just thought, I'll just shut the book. And then a day went away and then it was a week. And yeah, so avoidance, it wasn't good. So this is helping me be accountable and I appreciate that.
Awesome. We're glad you're here. Anybody else?
Did we share what we're reading next or what we're doing next?
Yes. Thank you for asking, Maria. So next week we'll be back in the life book. Where's my life book? Mine disappeared. And it's element 1 in the life book.
Okay.
Yeah, this is where the fun really starts. Granted, I love the Habits of Health book. I can geek over this book all night long because there's such great stuff in there. But there's something special about the life book if we're really honest in there and answering the questions. And this is such a fun, safe space to share that it'll be a great introduction. So element 1 next week.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome, you guys. Well, have a great evening. Thanks for jumping on and we'll chat next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.